Hey there, friends, and welcome to episode 262 of Just the Zoo of Us. In this week's episode, we are joined by a biologist with a passion for all things weird and dead for a review of the slimiest breakdancers in the world, jumping slugs. We discuss science communication through video games, how slugs flirt, confusing Darwin, why a biologist's fridge might be filled with mossy little salsa containers, and so much more. Also, just in case you missed it, October's bonus episode is up, and it is all about vampires. So Maximum Fun members, you can go listen to that now. A free preview of the first 10 minutes of the bonus episode went up in this feed yesterday, so anyone can go check that out. Anyway, time for this week's episode. Just the Zoo of Us presents Jumping Slugs with Meaghan Wetherell. Hello, everybody. This is Ellen Weatherford with Just the Zoo of Us, your favorite animal review podcast. I am so excited this week to talk about an animal that I had literally never heard of in my life. As soon as you told me about it, I was like, I've been fighting the urge to Google it this whole time because I'm a clean slate, a blank canvas for this.
Awesome.
We have a brand new friend this week. This is Meaghan Wetherell. Say hi, Meaghan.
Hi, Meaghan.
Meaghan, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about our new animal for this week, but before we talk about our new animal, I would like to get to know you a little bit because you have had a pretty fascinating journey alongside these and other very cool animals. Talk to us a little bit about your animal science journey.
Sure. So the animals that we're talking about today, I first encountered when I was working as a field biologist. And I did that for a couple of years and then decided that I wanted to go back to graduate school and I wanted to actually do some of the research, but I didn't want to do it on that animal. So we're going to make a real strong turn in my career from slugs, which is what I studied as a biologist, to dead animals with backbones because I'm a vertebrate paleontologist. But then I studied too much math and too much computer coding.
You flew too close to the sun.
For real, so close to the sun. And once you take too much computer coding, you realize that that's just such an applicable skill.
That's what you do now, unfortunately.
I'm a professor of data science at University of Arizona. I'm in the information science department. College. We're a college now. Information science college. Yeah, I teach game design, I teach science communication, and I teach statistics. And I make a lot of examples about slugs and fossils, and I still do research, mostly on fossils. But yeah, just a real strong turn there. I want to go to grad school, but not for things without backbones and not things that are alive.
For your true passion.
My true passion, which turned out to be dead animals represented through game design and also math.
I would love to take a quick little detour into this science communication in video games because that is so threading the needle of my exact interests. People who've listened to this podcast for a long time probably know we're big video game nerds and we talk about video games all the time. So what does that look like? How are you applying those concepts in what you're doing?
Yeah. So, I've always been really interested in how you can make education more fun and incorporate more gamified learning into it. So I used to teach at summer camps and would do my darndest to try and incorporate as many games as I possibly could. And so when I learned more about computer coding, it seemed like a pretty natural turn to just make those games be virtual. And I will say that the first couple of games that I made were for my statistics class, and the word game probably should be in quotation marks, I'd say. You can play them.
Exploring the concept of a game.
Yeah, they are online. And I will say that if you define a game as something interactive that is mildly more entertaining than a lecture, that's a game.
It reminds me of my grandmother would tell me about the video games that they played back when it was just text on a screen.
Yeah.
That would be you're in a dark room and you'd have to figure out exactly what to type into the computer to navigate the game.
Yeah. It was a real spelling challenge, those games. Zork, I think, was one of those ones. I don't think I ever finished Zork because it was too frustrating to figure out what Zork wanted from me. So I try not to incorporate too much of that. I want you to know.
A good communication exercise.
Yeah, so I've done some game design stuff for classes, and then now I have a grant from NSF to do some paleontology work. I also thread the needle between paleontology and archaeology because it's a archaeological site that also has animals. So we're studying the animals. It's the Paisley Caves in Oregon. And then a big part of my role on that grant is I'm hiring students, and we're designing an educational game about the geology and paleontology and biology of the area.
That is so exciting because I love learning through a game.
Me too.
And like, because I do think that like the stuffiness and the rigidity of like academic material is it's a huge barrier,
It
you know?
is.
Like,
Yeah.
I think making it as approachable and enjoyable as possible, you know, that's how you get people's like foot in the door.
Yeah.
You know, how do you know if you're really going to love a subject if you don't enjoy the process of learning it?
I agree. I think that there's no shame in wanting to have learning actually be enjoyable. There are many times where learning for me has not been enjoyable. I was horrible at math until I went to graduate school because I finally had a reason to do it. And I was applying it to my own research. So it was becoming like an interesting tool. But prior to that, I had no interest in it. But if I'd been playing games about it, maybe I would have.
Now we're getting somewhere. I really like the advent of things like Duolingo and stuff to like gamify learning.
Yeah, I think that's
great. I get very excited about that.
Yeah. Even if it's something you would have learned anyways, it makes you pay more attention to it and like dedicate more time to it. So yeah, I think that anything you can gamify is great.
Sometimes it gets kind of Trojan horsed in there. Yeah. Like sometimes you're just playing a video game just for funsies and you're like, oh man, they got me. I learned something. Man.
Oh, there's a term for that.
Oh, is there? What is it?
Chocolate-covered broccoli. Yeah, in my class, we talk a lot about how to avoid make a game that is just chocolate-covered broccoli. It should be marginally more fun.
I want to talk about also, you mentioned that your career has lined up with this animal that I've never heard of, that I had never ever heard of until you told me about. You were like, well, I researched these animals, these jumping slugs. And immediately I had to like double and triple read the sentence over again because I was like, those aren't words that go together. That's not like, if you had like a large language learning model, like that was like
that would
word association, they would never put jumping and slugs together. That's just not really a thing you think about slugs doing. So for people who like me maybe saw the title of this episode and were like, they don't do that. Maybe this is like a cryptid thing, you know, like one of those prank animals. It's like the tree octopus or like the drop bear or something like that.
Yeah.
Introduce us. What on earth is a jumping slug?
So I will preface this all by saying that malacologists, the people who study mollusks, love to give things the most dramatic names you've ever heard of, like jumping slug. But like there's like a cascade axe tail slug, which looks like a booger. Like that's what it is. So lower your expectations a little. This isn't doing flips. That said, it is absolutely thrashing around and sometimes jumping.
Fitting the criteria, like the dictionary definition.
They're not going to go to the Olympics for sure, but they can fall off of bushes. They can fall down hills. And as a person who normally expects a slug to be pretty slow, it is a little startling when you pick one up and it goes, bah!
But yeah, no, absolutely not. I'd have a panic attack.
Yeah.
I mean, what is jumping but creative falling? It's like proactive falling.
Yes. Yeah. So these little slugs, and they are pretty little. The ones that I was looking for were usually less than a centimeter long and even smaller when they were babies. So it was a lot of work to find them. Some of them do get pretty big, I guess up to like 5 centimeters, although I've only seen ones get up to like 2 or 3 centimeters. But essentially, when they are kind of hiding from you in wooden logs or in leaf litter, they will curl up with their face touching their tail.
An Ouroboros.
Yes, they do. But they like become a reverse Ouroboros where they like thrash their head and their tail to the side really hard. And they'll also take, so the top of a slug, like the little bumpy part that's on like near their head that's towards the front, It looks like they've got like a hump or a backpack.
Oh.
That's called the mantle.
Little slug backpack.
Yeah, a little slug backpack. And these ones, normally their backpack is like pretty flat, but when they start jumping, they kind of contract that backpack. So it becomes like, it looks like you've got like a bead on a slug string, and that string is just kind of thrashing around. I do have some YouTube videos if you want that we could put in the chat. So at least you could see it. Maybe you could tell people what you're seeing.
I would love that. I
All
would
right.
love to see a
Let's
quick
go.
little demonstration.
It's pretty weird.
Dromedary jumping slug. Isn't a dromedary? That's a camel, right?
Camel.
Dromedary jumping
So they're
slug.
named for their kind of humpy backpack.
Oh, I see. Oh my. This thing is going to town too. Look at it. He's breaking it down.
Yeah. Breakdancing slug would have been a good alternative, honestly.
It's forming some interesting like corkscrew shapes with its body. And like you said, thrashing around, but like also sort of spiraling. And if I saw this creature doing this, I would immediately assume something was like wrong. It looks like it's just dying.
Yes.
How horrifying. Yeah, I would immediately be grossed out and do a full 180. I'd be like, no, thank you. I won't be involved with that.
Yeah, so I think that they pull their hump in to maybe make their center of gravity a little off so that they can make it easier to thrash, because slugs don't really have the musculature required to like pick up and throw themselves forward like we think of as a jump, but they do have the musculature to go back and forth and side to side. So it's more akin to a fish on land, like a fish flopping around and floundering on land. But of course, malacologists are dramatic, so it's called jumping.
When you're a malacologist and you study snails and slugs, like you have to find excitement where you can, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I think so. And I think a lot of the names are like, maybe one day someone will read this and they'll finally look into what I study.
Can I tell you, it worked.
If I name it Scarlet Back Tail Dropper. Yeah.
It worked because when you said jumping slug, I was immediately invested. I was immediately interested. So 100% it worked.
See? Perfect plan.
I did want to take a quick moment to do yet another brief detour to discuss the slug scene in the Pacific Northwest, because so I'm from Florida where we had slugs, but they're pretty small. They're usually they're good slugs, but they're usually not more than like an inch or two long. They're very small. They don't get that big. And you'd really only see them after a big rainstorm. And then we move up here to the Pacific Northwest, and like literally the first time we went on like a hike anywhere, we saw these slugs that are the size of your hand.
Yep.
Like these things are like Jurassic Park slugs.
Yes. They are
What's
huge.
going on?
Banana
Why
slugs.
are the slugs here so big?
So it's just the one species of slug that is absolutely huge. It's banana slugs. They're usually kind of yellowish. Sometimes, especially up in like colder areas and like further north, you'll find ones that look more like super old spotted banana slug because they're like kind of greenish.
An
and
overripe
little
banana
dots.
slug.
Yeah, they look a little like an overripe slug.
That slug's ready to make a loaf of banana bread, I think.
For real. Like maybe I would actually, maybe not. It looks like it's gone a little too far, honestly. But yeah, they're all up and down the Pacific Northwest, and they get huge. Like I think they get like, I don't know, 8 inches long or something. They're pretty gigantic and pretty ubiquitous throughout. If it's wet and you're in the Pacific Northwest, you're probably going to see a banana slug. Might be a different color one, but you're probably going to see one.
Just keep your eyes to the ground. I promise you'll find one.
Mm-hmm. You can find them up trees too.
In trees?
Yep. The ones that I've seen on trees have been mating. And I don't know if that's like trees are reserved for mating between banana slugs, or maybe some banana slugs just like trees. But all of the ones that I've seen on trees have definitely been mating. The rest of them have been on ground or like logs and things. But yeah, they have some arboreal capacity, which is good to know.
Especially considering that they ain't got no arms or legs.
They got no arms or legs.
Climbing with no arms and legs is a real challenge.
They're just sticky. They just cement themselves to the tree.
So we got these big chungus slugs that are everywhere that I'm so delighted when I see. For the jumping slugs, are they like closely related to the banana slugs?
So I think they're in the same superfamily. So banana slugs are Areolimax. So I think they're in Arianoidea, which is the superfamily that also includes jumping slugs. But jumping slugs are, so their genus is Hemphilia. So Hemphilia is in its own family with a couple of other species that are local to the Pacific Northwest and to California. And they are kind of their own little thing. So they're not super closely related to aerial emacs.
They seem special. They seem unique.
They are pretty unique. And actually, a lot of the slugs and snails that are in the Pacific Northwest are things that you won't see unless you are really looking for them. And it's not just because they're really small. I was getting paid to find like slugs that were like my fingernail or smaller, or snails that were literally the biggest ones were 2 millimeters long. So
Just a baby.
yeah, really small and really cute. A good eyesight test. But if you really want to find these sorts of organisms, you actually have to look in the leaf litter. So you have to pick up leaves and look at the undersides of them, because most of these things they're not like the pest slugs that you think of in your garden. They're detritivores. So they're eating decaying leaf matter and they're eating fungi and stuff. So they're hiding in the leaves. Sword ferns, if you pick up like the sides of a sword fern and you look at all the dead leaves under there, that's where you're going to find things like jumping slugs. But there's hundreds of species that you would just never know about unless you looked underneath.
Boy, what a surprise that would be if you go just rustling some leaves and all of a sudden this little thing is doing its gymnastics routine.
Yes, which is probably the point of it, right? So there's two ideas as to why jumping slugs jump. The first one is that's unsettling. If you are a predator and you see that thing thrashing around when you normally hunt things that are really slow, that's weird. That's really unsettling.
Like it's not supposed to be doing that.
That's not supposed to be doing that. The other idea is, of course, that it can fall. And they often do. So very regularly, if they're on like a leaf or something like that, or a lot of these live in pretty steep areas, so they can kind of tumble downhill. There's a robotics paper out there that says that it's kind of like trying to become a circle, essentially. Robotics people, they study all sorts of weird animals. And I would say, you just watch that video. I don't know that I would describe jumping slugs as circular. They don't look like a wheel.
I feel like if they did it like a million times by just by like law of large numbers, eventually they're going to get to a wheel shape, just like happen upon
eventually.
It. But if it's intentional, they're doing a very bad job.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing an interpretation of a wheel as animals that have never seen a wheel, for sure.
That's true. Deconstructed wheel.
Yeah, very much the pieces of a wheel.
Maybe they're doing like a 4D, like galaxy brain, sort of like interdimensional wheel that human minds couldn't possibly comprehend.
There's a whole other part of the jumping slug in like 4D space that we really just can't see.
We just get little glimpses of.
But the other thing is that they have a slime trail, right? Because they use slime to kind of lubricate their movement and help them stick to things and help them move. But that slime trail is actually what a lot of predators of slugs will follow. So like one of the big predators of slugs is a snail, which is a little surprising.
That seems like you're like barely different animals.
So this snail, again, they have dramatic names, is called a robust lance-toothed snail.
That's good.
Which just sounds very aggressive.
D&D character name.
For real. And they hunt along the slime trail. But if the slug drops off a leaf or tumbles and breaks its trail, I mean, snails and slugs don't have very good eyesight. They can kind of tell light and dark, not very much else. So if you don't have a slime trail to follow, you're free.
That's true. That's true. It's like in old like movies where when a criminal was like running from the cops and the cops have bloodhounds and stuff, and they run through a river so that the dogs will lose their trail.
Yep, exactly. Except the dog also can't see you.
And you also can't see, and you can only flee at like a fraction of a mile per hour.
Yes.
Just in case this is anybody's first time listening to this podcast, what we do is we rate animals out of 10. And our first category is effectiveness, which is just how well adapted this animal is, physical things that are built into this animal's body to let it do the things it's trying to do, whether that is find prey or not become prey themselves. So what would you give jumping slugs out of 10 for effectiveness?
Well, part of the reasons I was looking for jumping slugs is because a couple of the species we keep thinking might be endangered, because almost all of these things live in old growth forests, which we're kind of getting rid of those these days. Well, and for the last like century. So there's been this worry about habitat loss. And then because you have to look through leaf litter, they're also pretty hard to find just kind of generally. So initially I would say, oh, not very effective. Like they're clearly going extinct. Except we keep finding new species of them. And we keep having to remove them from these species of concern lists because it turns out that no, actually, the warty jumping slug has a range going up into BC. It's just we aren't very good at looking for it. And actually, they can live in forests that are like 60 years or older. So I'm going to say pretty effective. I would give it probably like an 8 out of 10 for effectiveness.
That's pretty good. It also sounds like they're doing something interesting with their body that other slugs haven't really figured out yet.
Yes.
Is it something different about their body, or is it that they're just using the same body differently?
So I don't know if you noticed, but they do have something that's different about their body. Have you heard of a semi-slug?
No, I've never heard of a semi-slug.
I think they should be called snugs because they're slugs that have shells.
This feels like one of those things where you're like, is it a snake or is it a legless lizard?
Yeah,
At what point,
for real.
like, where do we draw that line? Oh no, the lines are so much blurrier than I thought they were between a snail and a slug.
They're so much blurrier.
I thought it was like a binary sort of like you're either slug or you're a snail. I didn't realize it got so like funky in the middle.
All right. Well, this is a Google search that just has a ton of pictures of them. Pretty much not all of this are jumping slugs, but they have a little shell. That's part of why their backpack hump is so big. It's because they actually have a shell inside of it. And you can see just the top of it. It looks like the eye of Sauron because it's always yellow.
It does.
Or like an old fingernail.
I don't like that as much. Go back to the Sauron one.
Eye of Sauron, this evil little slug.
Is that what the slug backpack is? Is it related to the shell in the snail?
Yeah, so not all slugs have secret shells. That is very much a semi-slug thing. But it turns out that's not like happened once. Both Hemphilia and Benaia, which are two genera in their little family, both of them have a weird relationship with the shell. I honestly can't look at Benaia without kind of gagging. It's pretty gross. But that's not the case with the third genus that's in there. And it's not the case with some of their most recent ancestors because semi-slugs pop up pretty regularly throughout different families of slugs and snails because the boundary between what a slug is and what a snail is way more blurry than you might expect. So like ear shell snails have just a tiny little shell that is on their tail. It's like moved all the way back. There's just a lot of different varieties of how much shell they have, but a lot of slugs don't. So if that grosses you out, there are lots of banana slugs do not have a shell. So you don't have to worry about that.
As somebody with also, a focus on paleontology and like the history of animals, which way is that evolution going? Did they start without shells and gain them, or did they start with shells and lose them?
So the thing is, it seems to go back and forth. It's not a one and done.
Interesting.
So the ancestor of like terrestrial slugs and snails, I think that was a snail. And then you have some things that became slugs, and then those slugs became semi-slugs. You have some snails that just kept being snails. Like it kind of seems to go back and forth. It turns out, and we've made them in the laboratory because sometimes scientists have a lot of spare time, I guess. Or want to do things like that.
An evolution speed run.
Yeah. You think Jurassic Park is what scientists are doing, but no, they're speed running snail slug evolution. And there are just a couple genes. You turn them on and off, and boop, you get at least a little bit of a shell. So it seems to be a pretty quick evolutionary turnover.
What would be like the trade-off? What would be the benefit to having a shell versus not? If it's something that they're like going kind of evolutionarily parkouring between, I'm wondering like what would be the sort of pressures that would incentivize you to have a shell versus not?
Yeah, so like a full shell, like that kind of makes sense, right? You've got a home, you've got a place that you can hide. Having no shell can often be really nice because it turns out that those shells are made out of calcium. And not all slugs and snails live in an area where you have a really easy access to calcium. In fact, if you want to find places with really high slug and snail diversity, you should go to places where you have like limestone because you're going to have a lot of calcium. And so they can just reproduce like crazy and do weird things with their shells. I don't fully know what the point is with a semi-slug. And as far, I've seen a couple of papers that have described it as useless,
Well.
which feels insulting and a little personal. But I'm not entirely sure. Part of me wonders if, at least in hemphilia, if it might be, they're pulling up their little backpack while they're thrashing. And I wonder if maybe it kind of helps to protect them a little bit while they're flopping around like a fish, or maybe it is making their center of balance a little different. Like maybe it makes them a little heavier, so it's easier for them to kind of flop and do this evasive behavior. Or maybe they just think it's cute. I don't know.
I mean, you need a good backpack. I'm always...
Ooh, look at your shell.
Yeah, ooh.
You're a hard top. That's cute.
Listen, no outfit is complete without a cute bag. So if you've got one...
This is true.
It's going to make you very appealing to mates. Are there boy slugs and girl slugs? Like, what is there a male-female split? Like, how do slugs make more slugs?
Make more slugs. So slugs and snails in the ocean have a different setup. Some of them are male and female, some of them are not. Slugs and snails on land are continuous hermaphrodites. They are all born with both sets of genitalia, and all of them are capable of making eggs with another slug or having eggs themselves. And I did finally find a paper on hemphilia mating behaviors, which it's a long process. It takes like 4 hours. And that first hour is like flirtation.
Excellent.
Can you guess what slug flirtation looks like?
Slug flirtation. Okay. It's got to be slimy. It must be slimy.
It is. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're involving slime.
Okay. Well, I mean, when you said it takes 4 hours, at first I was like, oh my God, that's like crazy. But then I guess for a slug, everything they do is going to take 4 hours. So
take 4 hours, yeah.
they're living on slug time. Is there maybe some smooching going on? Maybe some touching of tentacles? Some...
Maybe, yes, a little. Mm-hmm.
Brushing of slimy parts?
Yes. So jumping slugs have what's called a caudal mucus pit, which is a pit basically at the end of their tail. Caudal means tail. Yeah, right. It is kind of on the top. And there are essentially some pheromones in there. So to know if the other slug wants to mate, they will kind of start to sniff the tail of the other slug. And they'll kind of do it at the same time. So you'll get like snails kind of yin and yanging, coiling around one another, looking at each other's tails.
True romance.
Which is cute. But they also have a chase phase, which I think is, again, malacologists being super dramatic.
I mean, they're slugs. It's not a high-speed chase.
Yeah. Even with jumping slugs, because it is not involving their jumping behavior. It's very much a walk or a slide. But once they've kind of established that the other one is interested, one of them will take off and then the other one follows. And in these experiments, of course, they're not out in the woods underneath like a sword fern taking pictures. These are all in the lab. So they're not going anywhere. I don't know if they maybe have plans if they were in the woods, but in the lab, they don't seem to really go anywhere. And eventually they stop and they have internal genitalia that they will basically use to impregnate one another. Sometimes that happens at the same time. So both of them are going to lay eggs. Sometimes one slug will give its eggs and then leave and decides it doesn't want to have eggs with the other one.
Actually, that sounds like...
Yeah.
They're like, this is a you problem now. You figure this out. I'm leaving.
Exactly.
But that's interesting that they could both come away, I guess pregnant's not the right word, but like fertilized, I guess.
It is. It's internal fertilization. So it is pregnancy. And then they lay the fertilized eggs later. So yeah, both could come away from that with pregnancy or not.
That seems so efficient. Like, I can't believe more animals don't do it that way.
Unless you consider how long it takes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised that more animals don't do it that way, because if you're getting like reproductive capacity from 100% of your population,
right?
That seems like a good idea.
And it seems like that might be one of the reasons potentially that terrestrial slugs and snails have like done pretty well, because it's a lot easier to start up a new population if you are able to breed with any other member of your species. Like if you have male and female and only two females get washed up on an island, then you're not going to be able to continue that species. But if you have two slugs, it doesn't matter. They'll both be able to contribute.
Any slug will do. Just any old slug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you want to know how they get from place to place?
How do they get from place to place? This sentence seems diabolical. The way that you said that seems like you're about to say something villainous.
So this was something that really confused Darwin for a really long time. And basically snails were kind of his nemesis because it was so confusing.
Now, Darwin had a lot of nemesis. He made a lot of enemies in the animal kingdom.
He was a dramatic man.
What kind of like horrible insults did he say about slugs?
It was something like they confused him or something and he didn't like them.
I'm sure he said something out of pocket about slugs. He always does.
For sure. He always does, right? So slugs and snails, as you might imagine, not really great at transporting themselves over long distances. They also are super, super reliant on moisture. So like my job as a biologist was only in the spring and the fall when it was wet.
Slug season.
Which did also mean I was covered in rain all of the time and very wet myself. But yeah, that's slug season. So in the summer, they can't really do anything. They hibernate. They estivate in the summer, but it's the same thing. And in the winter, it's too cold. So like they have a very limited time period and a very limited duration of ability to get from place to place. So even moving like 5 feet for a centimeter long slug is a pretty big deal. But Hemphilia has gotten all the way from the Oregon coast to Montana. There are species in Montana and Idaho and BC and Washington and Oregon. It's not exactly clear 100% how they got there, but we think they got there in the last like 2 million years or so. So something around in the Pleistocene. And the primary culprit, it seems, for transporting slugs and snails is birds. Not necessarily because birds are picking them up and like kindly giving them a ride. Sometimes it's because they carry them into the nest, but if the babies don't eat them, then the slug is in a new spot and survives. Sometimes they can be on sticks that birds are carrying into their nests. If a bird stands around for too long, a slug can fall on them and crawl up their legs. So yeah, passive transport via birds appears to be the easiest way for slugs to really move from one woods to the next.
It's so funny that you say that because one of the, like last year when we moved here, we spent a lot of time going out, checking out the trails and parks. And I took my kids on a lot of hikes and trails and stuff like that. And I remember at one point, anyone who has ever hiked with kids knows how integral sticks are to the hiking experience for a kid. Yeah. It is like a big part of the trip is the stick selection process. There will be a lot of, you find a stick, this is your perfect stick, and then maybe 10 minutes later you find an even better stick and you have to discard yours. And you have to pick which one you actually want to keep if you're walking with me. If you're walking with me, you get a 1 stick maximum.
Oh, wow. Tough.
Between my kids, between the 10 and the 3-year-old, it quickly becomes warfare with a very sort of Game of Thrones stick competition where I want that one. No, that one's mine. I saw it first, and so I'm like 1 stick maximum for everybody. And so my older son found the perfect walking stick. It was like as tall as him, really nice shape to it, had some moss and some like lichen on it, very like wizard staff sort of stick, and he loved it. So we picked it up and we walked this whole trail. It was a pretty long trail. We were walking for maybe like an hour. And then we get to the end of the trail and he looks and realizes that this whole time there has been a giant slug on the stick the whole time, which this slug is now easily like 1.5 miles away from where it started. And I was like, we basically just like, that's like space travel to that slug. It would be like if you were like hanging out, just like minding your own business. It would be like if you got on a bus and then just kind of chilled for a while. And when you got off the bus, you were like on Mars.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it a banana slug?
I think it was because it was huge. I was like, how did we miss that?
Right. Yeah. Those are hard to miss, but they're very quiet about it sometimes. If they know that there's something around, they're very much
I'm going to let this
freeze
happen.
in place. But banana slugs have home ranges. Like they've measured, like it's like a 10 meter, I think, home range. they'll basically make like a little divot in the dirt and they'll curl up in that divot at night to go to sleep, to rest. So they have like
Oh
a little bed that they
no.
make.
We fully just like changed the slug's whole life. Because, it's always like, okay, we're, hikes over, put your stick down, just like leave it on the ground and, we'll go on
It's
about our
Wizard
business.
of Oz. That's what you did to this slug.
We just isekai'd this slug.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he's got to start from scratch, just absolutely from like absolute zero. Like, I gotta make a whole new divot.
Oh gosh, yeah. The paper that I read about that did not tell me how long it takes to make the divot, so that could be like a 2-second or like a 10-year thing. I don't know.
That was like the whole slug's like entire life crumbled before his eyes because this 10-year-old picked up a stick. Maybe they shouldn't be hanging out on sticks then, is what I'm saying.
I mean, that's, it's how they get around in the end, whether it's willing or not.
That's true. Evolution giveth, evolution taketh away. Oh no.
Taketh, yeah.
So, I mean, the whole like being carried off on sticks by birds, 100%. I totally get that because we accidentally did do that to some poor slug.
Yeah.
Hey there, we're going to take a quick break to hear from a couple of our friends on the Maximum Fun Network. When we get back, we are rating ingenuity and aesthetics for jumping slugs, so stick around.
What's up, people of the world? It's Mark
and Hal from We Got This with Mark and Hal,
the show that settles those pointless arguments that you and your friends have. Should you put ketchup on a hot dog, or liquid, foam, or bar soap?
And our 500th episode of We Got This with Mark and Hal is available now. It is supersized and a ton of fun.
Yeah, we've got guests coming back from the entire 500 episode run of our show. Some of your favorite Max Fun stars, some of your favorite regular out in other places in the world stars too. Some really fun surprises, and every single one of them had a topic for us to cover.
You can listen to it right now on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, sleepyheads. Sleeping with Celebrities is your podcast pillow pal. We talk to remarkable people about unremarkable topics, all to help you slow down your brain and drift off to sleep. For instance, the remarkable actor Alan Tudyk.
You hand somebody a yardstick after they've shopped at your general store. The store's name is constantly in your heart because yardsticks become part of the family.
Sleeping with Celebrities, hosted by me, John Moe, on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Night-night.
The next category that we rate animals on is ingenuity, which is behaviors, things the animal is doing, ways they're maybe solving problems, ways they're thriving in their environment. What would you give jumping slugs out of 10 for ingenuity?
So technically, semi-slugs is very interesting, but it's not necessarily super ingenious because it very clearly can happen in a lot of different slugs. They are the only slug that jumps, as far as I know, but there are 2 species of snail that can jump. There's one from Japan, which, quite frankly, it can get a little bit of vertical air. So, it's a little bit more impressive in the jumping arena. And then there's one from the Philippines, which I think is more of a thrash and fall off the leaf situation. So, it's not unique, but it's still only like 3 out of all slugs and snails. So I'm going to say that they're probably I'm going to give them a 9 on ingenuity. It's a pretty weird adaptation. It's not unique, but it's pretty strange.
It does allow them to reach a speed that they would not otherwise be able to reach. Like, they can go from like a couple of feet per minute to 9.8 meters per second square.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if there's if they are on a slope, the world is their downhill oyster, I suppose.
Make gravity work for you.
Yeah.
If you can't make your own speed, gravity bot is fine.
Yeah.
Now, does this hurt the slug? Do they take fall damage from this? Because then I would maybe loop back around to being like, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
I mean, how would you tell? How would you know if it's... I'm honestly, I've read these papers on dead slugs, and I'm not confident I could tell a recently dead slug from just a slow slug. So I've seen them do this behavior a couple of times. I usually stop poking them once they've done that because I don't want them to exhaust themselves, but they don't ever seem to take any damage. I imagine eventually they could take some damage if they fell off a cliff, but maybe that's what the shell is for. I guess if you're falling off a cliff, that shell's going to be face down, right? Maybe it's like a little, like a surfboard or something that you you land, like a boogie board. You fall off a cliff and you boogie board down.
Like in Breath of the Wild, you use your shield, like you just hop on your shield and then you like slide down the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But then I would worry about it getting shattered, and then you got a bunch of sharp pokey bits inside your soft, squishy body.
Well, it turns out that slugs and snails are actually very good at repairing their shell. So if their shell is broken and they have access to calcium, they can repair it pretty easily.
That is comforting to hear. Also, maybe having a soft, squishy body means that if you do fall, like if you fall a long way, maybe it's like it's just like it's like dropping a marshmallow.
Well, just being small makes it easier, right? Like you're not as much mass anyways, so you can kind of fall farther and not necessarily have the same consequences.
Yeah.
So it's not a research project I've seen people do, just tossing slugs off of cliffs to see what happens. It seems a little cruel.
Get Darwin on it, because he loved nothing more than just tossing little dudes off cliffs. He did it for free. You didn't even have to give him a grant for that.
And like the 70s have passed. Like if anyone was going to do that research, that would have been very much in the 70s research when they were like, yeah, sure, subject it to too much gravity. Let's see if it could live on Jupiter for some reason. Like that was what 70s biology research was.
Put them in space. See if they
what
like it
happens
up
if we
there.
try it out? Oh, it's still alive? Huh?
Oh, that's crazy.
What happens if we cool it down?
They're like, you survived this experiment? Dang, dude, good for you. We didn't think you would.
Yeah. 70s were wild.
We're at a much kinder place in science these days.
Yes.
Now we simply poke
I think we
them.
also have more rules. You have to get someone to approve your weird science experiment.
Was it fun if people would ask you like what you do for work and you're like, I poke slugs. I harass and annoy slugs.
Yeah, it was fun. My job is to look for slugs, but no, not because they're bad, because they might be endangered. That was my job. I wander through the woods all day by myself.
How blissful does that sound, though? Like, honestly, if you're like an introverted person, maybe like goals. I do that for free.
Yeah.
And like, you can get paid to just walk around and look for slugs.
But do you do it on rainy days?
By accident only.
That was the thing that really made it. I learned a lot about the quality of rain gear that you need to purchase in order to be a slug researcher, because rain pants in particular, you really just need full rubber pants, because if you sit down on wet leaf litter,
that's your day.
No regular rain pants are going to protect you.
I have a lot of times, my kids are very delighted when we find slugs that are pooping, because it is so silly looking.
It is a little.
It's like a tube. They're dropping logs out there. It looks like they're like giving birth to another slug.
And it's usually coming from underneath their mantle as well. So depending on the species, the mantle might be further back, their backpack might be further back. But in some species, the backpack is so far forward that their exit is like in the middle of their body. So it's like they've draped themselves with a poop scarf.
Just in time for fall. This year's fall trends. You're going to see it all over. Now, people don't use Pinterest anymore. You're going to see it on everyone's outfit of the day. Get ready with me. Poop scarf draped around the shoulders. Because then you could wear it anyway. You could put it around the shoulders. You could do it like around the neck.
It's true.
Over the head.
If you're really constipated, you could make one that's long enough that you wrap it all the way around, you know?
Limitless options.
Something to look forward to.
It's going to be a great fall. Actually, talking about fashion trends and looking cute, this brings us to the final category we rate animals on, which is aesthetics. Ooh. How nice is this animal to look at, whether that's cute, cool, however you find them. What do you give jumping slugs out of 10 for aesthetics?
Well, I would say I'm definitely pretty biased. The slugs that I was most commonly looking for would be warty jumping slugs, which are often this very cool kind of. All jumping slugs are a little marbled. They're a little bit more translucent than like your common banana slug. So they look like watercolor. Sometimes that watercolor is just a series of brown. Sometimes it's kind of purpley. Sometimes it's kind of bluey. But they've got like a lot going on as far as color goes. And warty jumping slugs in particular were almost always very purple. And they have little warts. They're not actual warts. They're papules along their backpack. So it's like a fuzzy backpack. Essentially.
That's a much cuter way of describing it That description makes it sound a lot cuter than it is, because I did pull up some pictures and it's not like great. It's not amazing to look at. It looks like a corpse's fingernail.
Well, okay. I shouldn't have given you that description. It's the Eye of Sauron. Let's just stay with the Eye of Sauron. It's a gemstone.
Let's stay there.
Like a troll doll having it embedded in their belly, but it's embedded in their back. As long as you don't think about corpse fingernail, you should be good.
It does look like tiger's eye.
Tiger's eye. See, it's beautiful.
It looks like tiger's eye.
Yeah, it's a backpack full of tiger's eye, and with warty jumping slugs, that backpack is purple, and it looks like it's got hair on it. And it's, when you are out there looking for slugs and snails, like, this is absolutely a very beautiful slug or snail. This is high quality, interesting colors, high variation between them. Some of them have little polka dots along, it's called their skirt, along their foot. So they have like polka dot skirts.
Skirt and a backpack.
Yeah, a little skirt and a backpack.
And a scarf. This is such a fall look. They're serving.
Yeah, they are deeply fashionable. They're not just athletic, but they're super fashionable as far as slugs go.
It's a sleigh.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give them a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I'm just comparing them to slugs and snails. If I compare them to any other animal, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to give them 10 out of 10 because, I mean, as a slug, you don't have that many options. So they've really kind of tried to pull an outfit together from a lot of different things.
Just whatever's in your closet.
And they're very interesting looking. Mm-hmm.
Now, while I was looking up pictures, I did come across pictures of a very bright blue slug, which is really, really cute. So unfortunately, that has raised my expectations of the slug.
I see the one you're looking at, and I want you to know that's a false color image because I have looked for those too. That is a blue-gray tail dropper slug. They do drop their tails in slow motion. So it's like a lizard, but like takes 10 years. And it's the same thing. If they give away their tail, maybe the snail will just eat their tail and they can get away. But they're usually more on the gray spectrum than blue.
Misinformation comes for us all. I fell for it.
I know. Yeah, that's too saturated. They should have known.
You think they just like bumped the colors up? Cranked it up in Photoshop or something?
I don't think I've been looking at washed out blue-gray tail droppers my entire life. I think if they were that color, they'd be called neon blue tail droppers. You know?
Right, like we'd hear more about that.
Yeah.
It's a cute picture, but it is like one of those things you'd see shared on some sort of scrupulous Facebook page.
Yeah.
With like 300 boomers in the comments typing, wow, beautiful photo.
Yep. These are one of the ones where, because you wear gardening gloves when you go through leaf litter, because there are things like spiders that will bite you. But as a result, you don't always like feel the slugs, and sometimes they get wiped off on like the texture of your gardening gloves. So on more than one occasion, I've been looking through leaf litter and then looked at my gloves, thought that I had snot somehow on my gloves, and it turned out to be a slug. And blue-gray tail droppers have a very close affinity to snot as far as looks. There's some other more snotty looking ones, but that one looks a fair amount like snot.
I would definitely just like use that to be like, no, that's totally not snot. That I totally don't have like an uncontrollable cold, and that's definitely from a slug.
Unfortunately, when you're doing these surveys, they want you to collect what are called voucher specimens to demonstrate that you can identify things correctly. Oh. So like the first time you encounter any species, you have to take a Mexican salsa container, like those little takeout containers, the plastic ones, and you put a little moss in it and you put a little slug in it, and then you take them home. And when you have enough, you give them to the Forest Service guys so that they can look at it. But that did mean that I had a lot of little slug zoos in my fridge because you want them to stay cool. Slugs don't like to get hot.
Oh, but that is definitely... You need to be very clear in your labeling on these salsa containers if you're also keeping them in your fridge.
Just like a whole shelf of like salsa containers with moss inside
Do
of them.
not dip chips in this. You will be disappointed.
Yeah. I don't want to have to find that species again.
Do not pour on taco. Well, Meaghan, I would love if we could let people know where they could go next to hear more of your voice. And I would love to talk about Weird and Dead because
Yeah.
I mean, we've covered the weird portion today and a little bit of the dead
Yes.
portion too, but weird and dead is really where your work seems to shine.
Yeah, so I have a podcast called Weird and Dead that I run with my friend Amy Atwater, who's another paleontologist. And we talk about a lot of paleontological things. We talk a little bit about modern evolution. We talk about rocks. It is definitely rated E for explicit, not for everyone. We curse a lot and we like to.
Some grown-up words.
There's some grown-up words and some pretty gross concepts. We have some very juvenile humor between the two of us, and we just make one another worse. So yes, if you are not weirded out by that discussion or that description, Weird and Dead. I think we just aired our last episode of season 2 on Patreon, and it should be coming out in the end of October, and then we'll start doing season 3 again in November. Yeah, so that's where you can listen to me.
I really enjoyed the episode on the science of fossil poop and puke.
Oh, thank you.
That is a wild ride.
Yeah.
That's very, very fun because, like,
yes,
I really enjoy looking at fossils in museums and stuff. And, like, a lot of times if you're looking at a fossil and you think, oh, this is going to be really cool. And then you're like, oh, it's a fossil of poop. Sometimes you can have a moment where you're like, oh, man. But, like, I do like hyping up, like, no, wait, no, they're cool too.
Yeah.
They're also cool. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out on the fossil poop.
Fossil poop. If you're a paleontologist, finding fossil poop is like kind of a big deal because, as you imagine, poop typically kind of squishy. So when you squish it between two rocks, you often don't get much that you can recognize as poop. And it can tell you a lot about the animal. So it's hard to find, kind of hard to recognize, and it's incredibly informative. Fossil puke is even more so. I did find a fossil owl pellet at one of my fossil sites here in Washington last year, and then I think another one this summer. So I think I've technically found fossil puke, but only in the form of like lots of rodent bones suspiciously pushed together, which is fine. But I really would love to find some fossil vomit. Ugh, the dream.
You would be like the most excited person to have ever found puke, because usually when you find puke,
Yep.
that's like, you're like, oh man, I'm going to have to throw something away.
I got to go to Ashfall Fossil Beds in Nebraska to film a National Geographic documentary. And the whole time I was so excited, because I was filming a documentary, which was very cool. But I wanted so badly, like I had to make sure that I saw the fossil puke because they have a bunch of fossil puke there. So I have like 10 different selfies from that location, not with the dead rhinoceroses or the things that most people are excited about. It's just me and my face looking really deranged next to fossil puke.
I'm going to recreate that next time my cat overindulges on treats and then leaves me a little gift on the floor. I'm gonna recreate your picture. I'm gonna send it right to you.
Yeah, it turns out I don't love modern puke. Yeah, not really stoked when Nessie leaves me a fossil in the making on our floor. Yeah.
There's a real sort of like grace period. There's like a window period where it's not cool that the vomit has a significant sort of, what is it, like an aging period?
Yes, yeah. It's like
a fine
whiskey
wine
or something. Yeah,
vomit only gets better with age.
It does get better with age, I can tell you that.
Well, I will have links to that in the episode description. Where else can people go, like on your social media?
Sure.
Also your art that you make and that you sell. I would love for people to know about that too.
Yeah, so I have a paleontology clothing store. It's geopedalfabric.com, where I really just wanted an excuse to make my own clothing out of silly like dinosaur prints and stuff. So I put them up there so that other people can buy them, and then I can fund my own clothing. And it's been pretty effective so far. And then if you want to play any of my video games, you can find them at meaghanwetherell.com. We just published the first prototype of Finding Lake Chewaucan, which is our science video game for the Paisley Caves that is available on my website. And I think we're going to fix a bunch of the bugs and release another prototype in a couple weeks. But yeah, you can find even my super fun with quotation marks statistics games are linked there as well if you'd like to play them.
All right. Well, that's awesome. I will have links to everything in the episode description so that anybody can just click through and go check out more of Meaghan's work. Thank you so much for joining us, for spending this time with us. I've learned a lot about slugs and snails. We will talk to you later. Bye, Meaghan.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you all so much for listening. I hope that a passing bird has dropped a poor, unsuspecting jumping slug into your heart, where it has now made a happy new life. If you liked what you heard, I hope you leave behind some kind words for us in a review on your podcast app of choice. If you'd like to hang out with us online, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and Threads. Link to everything will be in the episode description. You can also send me an email at ellen@justthezooofus.com if you have a cool animal you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. We would like to thank Maximum Fun for having us on their network alongside their other amazing shows, like the ones that you heard promos for here today. You can go check those out and learn more about the network and how you can be a part of supporting our show over at MaximumFun.org. Finally, we would like to thank Louis Zong for our amazing theme music. That's all for today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Maximum Fun, a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
directly
by you.